A 14-year-old black girl abandoned her 3 days old baby. But when the billionaire and his wife found the child, Amanda did the unthinkable. Amanda, a 14-year-old girl living in the small town of Springfield, found herself in a difficult situation. Despite repeated warnings from her parents, she had been secretly meeting her boyfriend. Her father's words echoed in her mind. "You're too young to have a boyfriend. Focus on being useful to yourself and leave boys alone for now." But Amanda, driven by curiosity and what she thought was love, continued to disobey. She would sneak out whenever she could, making excuses to her parents about studying at a friend's house or running errands. One day, after feeling unwell for weeks, Amanda realized she was pregnant. Her heart raced as she approached her boyfriend with the news. I think I'm pregnant," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Her boyfriend's face drained of color. "What? No, that's impossible. It can't be mine," he said, backing away from her. Amanda felt her world crumbling. But you're the only one I've been with," she pleaded. "I don't care, I'm not ready for this." "Don't tell anyone it's mine," he said coldly before walking away, leaving Amanda alone and scared. For weeks, Amanda struggled to keep her secret. She wore loose clothes and tried to act normal, but the fear of discovery consumed her. Every morning, she woke up dreading the moment her parents would find out. One night, as she lay in bed, she overheard her parents talking in the living room. "I'm worried about Amanda," her mother said. "She's been acting strange lately." "Maybe she's finally taking her studies seriously," her father replied. "It's about time she listened to us about focusing on her future." Amanda felt a pang of guilt. She knew her parents had high hopes for her, and now she had let them down in the worst way possible. The fear of disappointing her parents, coupled with the terror of becoming a mother at such a young age, overwhelmed her. She imagined the anger she might face, the shame she would bring to her family, and the possibility of being kicked out of her home. "What am I going to do?" she whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. For days, Amanda wrestled with her options. She considered telling her parents, hoping they might understand, but every time she tried to bring it up, her courage failed her. One afternoon, as she walked home from school, she passed by the bus station. She stopped, staring at the buses lined up, ready to take people to far-off places. An idea began to form in her mind. That night, Amanda lay awake, her mind racing. "I can't stay here," she thought. "I can't face them. I can't face anyone." The next morning, after her parents left for work, Amanda made her decision. With shaking hands, she packed a small bag with some clothes and the little money she had saved. As she stood in her room one last time, she looked around at the familiar surroundings, her school books on the desk, photos of her friends on the wall, the teddy bear she'd had since childhood sitting on her bed. Everything reminded her of the life she was about to leave behind. Amanda scribbled a quick note. "I'm sorry. I love you. Please don't look for me." She left it on her bed, hoping it would buy her some time before they started searching. With a heavy heart, she slipped out of the house. As she walked toward the bus station, every step felt like lead. She kept looking over her shoulder, afraid someone might recognize her and stop her. At the bus station, Amanda approached the ticket counter. Her voice trembled as she spoke to the attendant. "One ticket, please, to wherever the next bus is going." The attendant looked at her curiously but didn't ask any questions. "Next bus is to Chicago. Leaves in 10 minutes. Amanda nodded, handing over most of her money for the ticket. As she waited for the bus, she thought about her parents coming home to find her gone. She imagined their worry, their anger, their disappointment. But in her mind, this was the only way. As the bus pulled up, Amanda took one last look at the town she had called home for 14 years. Tears welled up in her eyes as she boarded, knowing she was leaving behind everything and everyone she knew. The bus lurched forward, and Amanda watched through the window as Springfield faded into the distance. She placed a hand on her stomach, feeling the weight of her decision and the uncertainty of her future. "I'm sorry," she whispered, to her parents, to her unborn child, and to herself. After several hours of driving, the bus finally came to a stop at a bustling park in Chicago. Amanda stepped off the bus, her legs wobbly from the long journey. She stared wide-eyed at her new surroundings, overwhelmed by the noise, the crowds, and the towering buildings. This was nothing like her small town of Springfield. "Where am I supposed to go now?" Amanda muttered to herself, clutching her small bag tightly. She had spent her last dollar on the bus ticket, leaving her with no money and no idea where to go. The reality of her situation began to sink in. She was alone, pregnant, and lost in a big city she knew nothing about. As the sun began to set, Amanda wandered the streets of Chicago. Her stomach growled with hunger, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since morning. She passed by food vendors, the aroma of their wares making her mouth water, but she had no money to buy anything. "Excuse me," she tried asking a passerby, "do you know where I can find a cheap place to stay?" The person barely glanced at her before hurrying away, leaving Amanda feeling even more alone. As darkness fell, Amanda's fear grew. She had nowhere to sleep, and the streets were becoming more intimidating by the minute. She kept walking, her feet aching, hoping to find somewhere safe to rest. In a quieter part of the city, Amanda spotted an elderly woman locking up what looked like a small shop. Desperate for help, she approached the woman. "Good evening, ma'am," Amanda said, her voice trembling. "Please, I'm new in this place, and I'm lost. I can't find my way. Could you please let me sleep at your house until tomorrow? Please help me." The elderly woman looked at Amanda with surprise and suspicion. "What do you mean you're lost? What are you doing on the street at this time of night?" "Where are your parents?" she asked, her voice sharp with concern and a hint of accusation. Amanda, feeling cornered and desperate, decided to tell the truth. I ran away from home," she admitted, her eyes welling up with tears. "I'm pregnant, and I was scared to tell my parents. I have nowhere to go." The woman's expression changed from surprise to disappointment. "You got pregnant? As young as you are? You're already pregnant. You must be a stubborn girl," she said, shaking her head. "Now go away from me. I can't help you." Amanda felt her heart sink. She had hoped the woman would take pity on her, but instead she found herself being chased away once again. With tears streaming down her face, she walked away, feeling more alone than ever. As she continued her aimless wandering, exhaustion began to take over. Amanda found a large tree in a quiet area and sat down, leaning against its trunk. Her eyelids felt heavy, and she was just about to drift off when she heard footsteps approaching. Amanda's eyes snapped open, and she saw a group of young men walking toward her. Their loud voices and aggressive body language made her heart race with fear. Without thinking, she jumped to her feet and started running. "Hey, where are you going?" one of the boys shouted. To Amanda's horror, she heard them start to chase her. Her pregnant body protested as she ran as fast as she could, her breath coming in short gasps. "Please, God, help me," she prayed silently as she darted down unfamiliar streets, trying to lose her pursuers. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Amanda could no longer hear the boys behind her. She slowed down, her lungs burning and her legs shaking. She found herself in a quiet, partially developed area of the city. As she caught her breath, Amanda's thoughts turned to her family back in Springfield. She imagined her mother discovering her empty room, the note she had left. She could almost hear her father's angry voice, her mother's sobs. The guilt and homesickness washed over her. "I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry, Papa," she whispered into the night, tears falling freely. As she walked through the quiet area, Amanda spotted an unfinished building. It was just a concrete shell with no windows or doors, but it offered some shelter from the elements and prying eyes. Cautiously, she approached the structure. "Hello," she called out softly, making sure no one else was using it as a shelter. When she received no response, she stepped inside. The floor was hard and dusty, but to Amanda's exhausted body, it felt like a luxury. She found a corner that was partially hidden from view of the entrance and settled down, using her small bag as a pillow. As she lay there trying to get comfortable, Amanda placed a hand on her stomach. "I'm sorry, little one," she whispered to her unborn child. "I don't know what we're going to do, but I'll figure something out. I promise." The night was long and uncomfortable. Every sound made Amanda jump, fearing that someone had found her hiding place. But as the first light of dawn began to filter into the unfinished building, she realized she had made it through her first night in Chicago. Sitting up and stretching her sore muscles, Amanda looked around her makeshift shelter. It wasn't much, but for now, it was the only place she had. "I guess this is home now," she said to herself, her voice a mixture of resignation and determination. As the city outside began to wake up, Amanda steeled herself for the challenges ahead. She had no money, no food, and no plan. But she was alive, and for now, that had to be enough. With a deep breath, she stepped out of the building, ready to face her first full day in this strange, overwhelming city. As time passed, Amanda's pregnancy progressed rapidly. Life in Chicago was incredibly hard for her. Each day was a struggle to find food and stay safe. She often resorted to begging on the streets, approaching strangers with pleading eyes. "Please, can you spare some food?" she would ask passers-by. Some ignored her, while others gave her small portions or a few dollars. To earn a little money, Amanda started washing clothes for people in the neighborhood. "I can wash your clothes for you," she'd offer to women she saw in the area. "I'll do a good job, I promise." One woman, Mrs. Anderson, became a regular client. "You're a hard worker, Amanda," she'd say, handing over a small payment. "But you shouldn't be doing this in your condition." Amanda would just nod, grateful for the work. "Thank you, ma'am. I have no choice." Months went by like this, with Amanda barely scraping by. Then one evening, as she sat in her makeshift home in the unfinished building, she felt a sharp pain. "Oh no," she gasped, realizing what was happening. "Not now, please, not now." But the baby was coming, and Amanda was all alone. She screamed in pain, her cries echoing in the empty structure. "Help! Somebody help me!" she yelled. But no one was around to hear. For hours, Amanda pushed and cried, the pain unlike anything she had ever experienced. "I can't do this," she sobbed, but her body kept working to bring the baby into the world. Finally, with one last agonizing push, the baby was born. Amanda, exhausted and in shock, stared at the tiny crying infant. "Hello, little one," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. With shaking hands, she cleaned the baby as best she could, using the cleanest cloth she had. As she held her child, a boy, Amanda was filled with a mix of love and despair. She knew she couldn't provide for him. She had no money, no home, no way to keep him healthy and safe. "What am I going to do with you?" she asked the baby, who had quieted and was looking up at her with unfocused eyes. "I want to keep you, but I can't. I'm so sorry." Amanda spent the night holding her son, trying to feed him and keep him warm. But as the sun rose, she knew she had to make a difficult decision. She couldn't keep the baby with her. It would be a death sentence for both of them. An idea formed in her mind, a way to give her son a chance at life. It broke her heart, but she knew it was the only way. "I have to be strong," she told herself. "For you, my little one. For you." She looked into his tiny face, her heart heavy with the decision she was about to make. Tears streaming down her cheeks, she spoke softly to him. "My sweet baby," Amanda whispered, her voice trembling. "Please forgive me for what I'm about to do. I know you won't understand, but I'm so sorry. This is the only way I can give you a chance at a better life. I want you to know that I love you so much." The baby cooed softly, unaware of his mother's turmoil. Amanda hugged him tightly, trying to memorize every detail of his tiny face. With shaking hands, Amanda wrapped the baby in the cleanest cloth she had. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to do. "It's time," she murmured, more to herself than to the baby. Amanda stepped out of her shelter, holding her son close. She walked to the next street, where she knew a wealthy family lived. Their large house stood out among the other buildings, a symbol of prosperity that Amanda could only dream of. As she approached the billionaire's house, doubt crept into her mind. What if this doesn't work, she thought. What if they don't find him? But she knew she had to try. It was her son's only chance at a good life. With a final kiss on her baby's forehead, Amanda gently placed him near the gate of the mansion. She arranged the cloth to make sure he was comfortable and visible. "Be safe, my love," she whispered before quickly moving away to hide behind a nearby tree. From her hiding spot, Amanda watched the gate intently. Minutes passed, feeling like hours to the anxious mother. Finally, the gate opened. Amanda held her breath as she saw a well-dressed couple step out. It was Mr. John and his wife, Emily. The couple stopped abruptly, their eyes landing on the bundle near their feet. "What's this?" John asked, bending down to look closer. Emily gasped. It's a baby. Oh my goodness, how did it get here?" They looked around, searching for any sign of who might have left the child. Amanda pressed herself against the tree, her heart pounding. "We can't leave it out here," Emily said, carefully picking up the baby. Let's take him inside and figure out what to do. The couple retreated into their house, carrying Amanda's son with them. Amanda watched them go, her emotions a mix of relief and heartbreak. She slid down the tree trunk, sobbing quietly. Be good to him, she pleaded silently to the wealthy couple. Give him the life I can't. With a heavy heart, Amanda stood up and walked away from the billionaire's house. She knew she had made the right decision for her baby, but it didn't make the pain any easier to bear. As she made her way back to her shelter, Amanda whispered a final goodbye to her son. I hope you have a wonderful life, my dear. Maybe someday, somehow, we'll meet again. Inside their luxurious home, John and Emily carefully carried the baby to their bedroom. They placed the infant on their large bed, both staring at the tiny bundle in disbelief. What do we do now, John? Emily asked, her voice filled with a mix of concern and excitement. John ran his hand through his hair, looking just as bewildered. I'm not sure. We should probably call the police. Report this. Emily gently touched the baby's cheek, her eyes filling with tears. But look at him, John. He's so small, so helpless. The couple exchanged a meaningful look. They had been trying to have a child for years, spending fortunes on fertility treatments, all to no avail. The pain of their inability to conceive had been a constant shadow over their otherwise successful lives. John sat down heavily on the edge of the bed. You know, Emily, maybe this isn't a coincidence. We've prayed for a child for so long. Emily nodded, hope blooming in her chest. Do you think, could this be our miracle? John reached out and took his wife's hand. Maybe it is. Maybe this is the gift we've been waiting for all these years. They both looked at the baby, who was now sleeping peacefully, unaware of the life-changing decision being made around him. We could give him a wonderful life, Emily said softly. Everything we've always wanted to give to our child. John nodded, a smile spreading across his face. You're right. We shall keep the baby. This is our chance to be parents. Tears of joy streamed down Emily's face as she carefully picked up the baby. Hello, little one. We're your new mom and dad. John wrapped his arms around his wife and their new son. We need to give him a name. What do you think? Emily thought for a moment. How about Alex? It means defender or protector. Alex, John repeated, testing the name. I like it. Welcome to the family, Alex. As the reality of their sudden parenthood sank in, John's practical side kicked in. You know, Emily, with our busy schedules, we might need some help. Maybe we should hire a nanny to watch over Alex when we're at work. Emily nodded in agreement. That's a good idea. We want to give Alex all the care and attention he needs. I'll start looking for someone right away, she said. We'll find the perfect person to help us take care of our son, John added. As they continued to marvel at their unexpected blessing, neither John nor Emily could have imagined the true story behind Alex's arrival or the challenges that lay ahead in their new journey as parents. Amanda couldn't shake off the guilt and worry about her decision to leave her baby at the billionaire's mansion. She spent her days and nights walking around the property, her mind filled with questions and doubts. Did I make the right choice? She would mutter to herself, staring at the grand gates. Is my baby okay in there? One evening, as she paced near the mansion, a security guard approached her. Miss, are you lost? You've been here for hours, he said. Amanda jumped, startled. No, I'm just walking, she stammered. The guard looked at her suspiciously. This isn't a public park. You can't stay here. Amanda nodded and walked away, her heart heavy. She found a nearby bench and sat down, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, my baby, she whispered. I hope you're happy in there. Sleep became a luxury for Amanda. Every night she tossed and turned in her makeshift shelter, her mind racing with thoughts of her child. Is he being cared for? Does he miss me? She would ask the darkness, receiving no answer. One day, as Amanda walked her usual route around the mansion, something caught her eye. A notice was posted on the wall. Nanny needed. Her heart raced as she read it. This is it, she whispered to herself. This could be my chance to see my baby again. Amanda stood there staring at the notice, her mind racing. She knew it was risky. What if they recognize me? What if I can't handle being so close to my child without revealing the truth? She paced back and forth. talking to herself. Should I do this? Can I even pull it off? After hours of internal debate, Amanda made her decision. I have to try, she said firmly. I need to know he's okay. The next day, Amanda cleaned herself up as best she could and went to apply for the job. She rehearsed her story over and over. Good morning, she said nervously to the woman at the gate. I'm here about the nanny position. To Amanda's surprise, she was ushered in immediately. She found herself sitting across from John and Emily. So Amanda, tell us about your experience with children, John said. Amanda took a deep breath. I love children, she said, thinking of her baby. I've helped raise my younger siblings and cousins. Emily smiled. That's wonderful. How do you handle difficult situations with children? With patience and understanding, Amanda replied, her voice steadier now. The interview continued, and to Amanda's shock, it ended with John saying, Well, Amanda, we'd like to offer you the position. Can you start tomorrow? Amanda nodded, barely able to speak. As she left the mansion, a mix of excitement and fear filled her. She was going to see her baby again. But at what cost? Amanda started her job as a nanny in the billionaire household, her heart racing every time she saw Alex. She had to remind herself constantly not to show too much emotion. Good morning, Alex, she'd say softly each day, fighting the urge to scoop him up and never let go. Emily noticed Amanda's gentle way with the baby. You're so good with him, Amanda, she said one day. He really seems to like you. Amanda smiled nervously. Thank you, ma'am. He's a wonderful baby. When the family was out, Amanda would hold Alex close, whispering to him, My sweet boy, I'm your mama. I wish I could tell you, she'd say, tears in her eyes. She breastfed him during these moments, cherishing the bond. This is our secret, okay? She'd whisper, her emotions overwhelming her. As weeks passed, Alex began to show a strong preference for Amanda. He'd cry when she left the room and calm instantly in her arms. It's amazing how attached Alex is to you, Amanda. You must have a special touch, John commented one evening. Oh, I just try my best, sir, Amanda replied, her heart pounding. Emily added, We're so lucky to have found you. Alex clearly loves you. Amanda nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She was grateful for this time with her son, but the secret was becoming harder to bear each day. That night, as she put Alex to bed, she whispered, I love you so much, my little one, more than you'll ever know. One sunny afternoon, John and Emily were sitting on their patio, enjoying the pleasant weather. They watched as Amanda played with Alex on a blanket spread out on the lawn. Emily turned to her husband, a slight frown on her face. John, I don't know, but have you noticed how attached Amanda is to Alex? John nodded, his eyes focused on Amanda and the baby. I was just about to mention that, Emily. We hired her to watch over Alex, but she seems almost too attached to him. It's a bit unusual, don't you think? They watched as Amanda tickled Alex, making him giggle loudly. The sound of the baby's laughter filled the air. Look at how she looks at him, John continued. It's almost like, well, I don't know. I hope everything is all right with her. Emily sighed, her expression softening. Maybe we're overthinking this. She could just be a very dedicated nanny. Some people are naturally good with children. That's true, John agreed, though he still looked concerned. But don't you find it odd how quickly Alex bonded with her? He cries whenever she's not around. Emily reached out and patted her husband's hand. I understand your concerns, but let's not worry too much about it. She's taking excellent care of Alex, and that's what matters most. They fell silent for a moment, watching as Amanda gently rocked Alex, who was starting to look sleepy. You're right, John finally said. She's probably just trying to be a loving nanny. As long as Alex is happy and well cared for, we shouldn't complain. Emily nodded, smiling as she saw Alex yawn in Amanda's arms. Exactly. Let's be grateful we found someone who cares for our son so deeply. Amanda was tidying up Alex's toys in the garden when she noticed John and Emily talking on the patio. She couldn't hear their words clearly, but their frequent glances in her direction made her uneasy. Pretending to be busy, she moved closer, straining to catch their conversation. As she picked up a stuffed animal, she heard Emily's voice. That nanny, she's so much attached to Alex. Amanda's heart raced. She bent down, pretending to tie her shoelace, listening intently. John's response made her blood run cold. Too attached to the baby? Oh no, Amanda thought, her hands shaking slightly as she placed the toy in the basket. She caught more snippets of their conversation, each word increasing her panic. As the couple's discussion ended, Amanda straightened up, her mind racing. I have to be more careful, she whispered to herself. They're getting suspicious. I need to watch my steps. She took a deep breath, forcing a calm expression as she turned toward the house, all the while thinking, I can't lose this chance to be with my baby. I have to be smarter about this. For 10 long years, Amanda lived a double life in the billionaire's household. Every day was a delicate balance of caring for Alex while hiding her true identity. She poured all her love into her son, savoring every moment they shared. Alex, have you finished your homework? Amanda would ask, her voice gentle but firm. Almost done, Nanny Amanda, the boy would reply, his face lighting up at her attention. As Alex grew, Amanda marveled at his progress. She'd watch him learn to walk, talk, and eventually excel in his studies. Each milestone filled her with a bittersweet mix of pride and sadness. One evening, as she tucked him into bed, 9-year-old Alex asked, Nanny Amanda, why do you always look sad when you think I'm not watching? Amanda's heart skipped a beat. Oh, Alex, I'm not sad. I'm just thinking sometimes, she replied, forcing a smile. Nanny, can I tell you a secret? Alex whispered. Amanda's heart raced. Of course, Alex. You can tell me anything. You're my favorite person in the whole world, he said, hugging her tightly. Amanda fought back tears. Oh, Alex, you're very special to me, too. John often boasted about Alex's achievements. Did you see Alex's latest test scores? He'd say to Emily. He's at the top of his class again. He's such a smart boy. Emily would agree, beaming with pride. Amanda would listen to these conversations, her heart swelling with pride but aching with the secret she carried. She'd think to herself, that's my boy, my brilliant, beautiful boy. During quiet moments, Amanda would sometimes allow herself to imagine a different life. What if I had kept him? She'd wonder. But then she'd look around at the luxurious home, the opportunities Alex had, and remind herself why she made her choice. Nanny Amanda, can you help me with this math problem? Alex would call, snapping her out of her thoughts. Of course, Alex, she'd respond, grateful for another chance to be close to her son. Let's figure it out together. One afternoon, 9-year-old Alex was playing in the sitting room, running around with his toy airplane. As he zoomed past the ornate glass table, his elbow caught the edge of a delicate glass ornament. It toppled off the table and shattered on the marble floor with a loud crash. Alex froze, his eyes wide with fear. Oh no, he whispered. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the house. Within seconds, Emily rushed into the room, her eyes darting from the broken glass to Alex, who was standing stock-still next to the table. What? Emily exclaimed, her face turning red with anger. Alex, you broke that glass on the table? I've told you so many times not to play near that table. Before Alex could explain or apologize, Emily grabbed him by the arm and started spanking him. How many times do I have to tell you? That glass was expensive. Amanda, who had been in the kitchen, ran into the room when she heard the commotion. Her heart broke as she watched Emily punishing Alex. It took every ounce of self-control not to intervene. She clenched her fists, fighting the urge to protect her son. After the beating, Alex ran to his room, sobbing. Emily, still fuming, stormed back to her own room without a word to Amanda. Amanda waited a few minutes, then quietly knocked on Alex's door. Alex, can I come in? A muffled yes came from inside. Amanda entered to find Alex curled up on his bed, his face streaked with tears. She sat down beside him and gently stroked his back. I know you're sad now, Alex, Amanda said softly. What happened was an accident. Next time, if you want to play, just come outside with me, okay? I'm always here for you. Alex looked up at her, his eyes red and puffy. I didn't mean to break it, he sniffled. I was just playing. I know, sweetheart, Amanda soothed. Accidents happen. Alex sat up and threw his arms around Amanda. I just wish you were my mother, he cried. I love you so much. Amanda felt her heart shatter. Tears welled up in her eyes as she hugged Alex tightly. If only he knew the truth, she thought. Alex noticed Amanda's tears and said, Please stop crying, Nanny. Did I say something wrong? I wish my mom was like you. Amanda quickly wiped her eyes. No, you didn't say anything wrong, she assured him. Don't worry about your mother, Alex. She's not a bad person. She was just angry because that glass was expensive. She loves you very much. But you never get angry like that, Alex pointed out. Amanda sighed. Everyone shows love differently, Alex. Your mother loves you in her own way. After comforting Alex for a while longer, Amanda left his room. As she closed the door, she heard Alex whisper, I wish my mother was just like my nanny. Amanda leaned against the wall outside Alex's room, her emotions overwhelming her. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on her. She was Alex's real mother, yet she couldn't tell him. She had to watch another woman raise her son, sometimes in ways she didn't agree with, and there was nothing she could do about it. Oh, Alex, she whispered to herself, if only you knew how much I love you. After comforting Alex, Amanda retreated to her small room in the servants' quarters. As soon as she closed the door, she broke down in tears. My baby, she sobbed quietly, sinking onto her bed. Oh, Alex, if only you knew. Amanda's mind raced with Alex's words. I wish you were my mother. The irony of it all was too much to bear. I am your mother, she whispered to the empty room. I've always been your mother. As her tears subsided, a dangerous thought began to form in Amanda's mind. Maybe I should tell him the truth, she muttered. Maybe we could leave this place together. But doubt quickly set in. No, it's too risky, she argued with herself. What if they don't believe me? What if they take Alex away? Amanda paced her small room, torn between her desire to claim her son and the reality of their situation. There has to be a way, she said. I just need to find it. After that emotional day, Amanda couldn't shake the idea of revealing the truth to Alex. She spent nights tossing and turning, imagining different scenarios. I could just tell him outright, she mumbled to herself one night. But no, he's so young. He might not understand. During the day, she watched Alex closely, noticing his growing sadness. One afternoon, she found him staring out the window instead of doing his homework. Alex, sweetie, aren't you supposed to be studying? She asked gently. Alex sighed. What's the point? Mom and Dad are never around to see my grades anyway. Amanda's heart ached. They're just busy with work, Alex. They still care about you. But you're always here, Alex said, looking at her with sad eyes. Why can't they be more like you? Amanda swallowed hard, fighting back tears. Everyone has different responsibilities, Alex. Your parents love you very much. As Alex turned back to the window, Amanda thought, oh, my sweet boy, if only I could tell you the whole truth. Days later, Alex's life had turned into a nightmare. Once known throughout the school for his intelligence and academic prowess, the popular and brilliant boy now found himself struggling. His grades had plummeted dramatically, dropping from first place to third, from last in his class. At home, the situation was equally dire. His father would bellow at him, his face red with anger. What's wrong with you, Alex? How could you let your grades slip like this? He'd shout, waving Alex's report card in the air. His mother was no better. She'd yell and call him names, her words cutting deep. Are you trying to embarrass us? You used to be so smart. What happened to our brilliant son? She'd say, her voice dripping with disappointment. Neither of them seemed to care about what might be troubling their only child. They didn't take the time to sit down with Alex to ask him if something was wrong or if he needed help. Their busy schedules and high expectations left no room for understanding or compassion. The constant criticism and lack of support at home took its toll on Alex. He became lost in his thoughts, his mind a whirlpool of sadness and confusion. This internal turmoil directly impacted his academic performance, leading to a breakdown in his studies. At school, his teachers noticed the change. Mrs. Smith, his English teacher, approached him one day after class. Alex, is everything all right? You seem very distracted lately, she asked gently. Alex just shrugged, avoiding eye contact. I'm fine, he mumbled, even though he was far from it. Mr. Peters, his math teacher, also tried to reach out. Alex, your grades have dropped significantly. Is there something bothering you? You can talk to me if you need help, he offered. But Alex wouldn't open up to them. He'd simply shake his head and walk away, leaving his concerned teachers at a loss. The only person Alex felt he could turn to was Amanda. One evening, as she was helping him with his homework, he finally broke down. "Nanny Amanda," he said, his voice quivering, "I don't know what to do anymore. Nothing I do seems good enough for Mom and Dad." Amanda's heart ached as she listened to her son's pain. "Oh, Alex," she said softly, putting an arm around his shoulders. "What makes you feel that way?" Alex's words came out in a rush. "They're always yelling at me about my grades. They don't care about anything else. They don't even ask how I'm feeling or if something's wrong. It's like they only love me when I'm perfect." Amanda fought back tears as she hugged Alex close. "Your parents love you very much, Alex. They just have a hard time showing it sometimes. But I'm here for you, always. You can tell me anything, okay?" Alex nodded, burying his face in Amanda's shoulder. In that moment, Amanda wished more than ever that she could tell Alex the truth, that she was his real mother, and that she loved him unconditionally. But for now, all she could do was hold him and offer what comfort she could. Alex's academic performance had been suffering due to his worries about his parents' busy schedules and their seeming lack of interest in his life. Once a top student, he had slipped to the middle of his class. However, with Amanda's constant support and encouragement, Alex started to regain his focus on his studies. One day after class, Alex's teacher, Mrs. Smith, called out to him. "Alex, can I speak with you for a moment?" Alex turned back, a bit nervous. "Yes, Mrs. Smith." Mrs. Smith smiled warmly. "Alex, I've noticed a significant improvement in your academic performance lately. Your grades have shot up and you're participating more in class discussions. I'm really impressed with the new Alex I'm seeing." Alex beamed with pride. "Thank you, Mrs. Smith. I've been trying harder." "Well, your efforts haven't gone unnoticed," Mrs. Smith continued. "In fact, I've spoken with the school principal about you. We would like you to represent our school in the upcoming national competition. It's a contest between 2,000 different schools across the country." Alex's eyes widened in surprise and excitement. "Really? Me?" Mrs. Smith nodded. "Yes, you. We believe you have the potential to do very well." Alex couldn't contain his excitement. "Thank you so much, Mrs. Smith. I promise I'll do my best. I want to put our school on the map as one of the best schools in the country." Mrs. Smith's face lit up with delight at Alex's enthusiasm. "That's the spirit, Alex. Your newfound wisdom and dedication are truly impressive. Keep up the great work, and I'm sure you'll make us all proud." As Alex left the classroom, he couldn't wait to share the news with Amanda. He found her in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Nanny Amanda," he called out excitedly. "You won't believe what happened today." Amanda turned to him, smiling at his enthusiasm. "What is it, Alex?" "Mrs. Smith said I'm going to represent our school in a big competition. It's against 2,000 other schools in the country," Alex exclaimed. Amanda's face beamed with pride. "Oh, Alex, that's wonderful news. I'm so proud of you." Alex hugged Amanda tightly. "It's all thanks to you, Nanny. You always listen to me and encourage me. You make me want to do better." Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes as she hugged her son back. "You did all the hard work, Alex. You should be very proud of yourself." As they celebrated Alex's achievement, Amanda couldn't help but feel a mix of joy and sadness. She was immensely proud of her son, but she wished she could share this moment with him as his mother, not just his nanny. The school competition arrived quickly, and Alex put his whole heart into representing his school. He had spent weeks preparing, staying up late to study and practice. On the day of the competition, Alex felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he stood on the stage. "You can do this, Alex," he whispered to himself, taking a deep breath before starting his presentation. His hard work paid off. Alex's performance was outstanding, impressing both the judges and the audience. When the results were announced, Alex's school was declared the winner, recognized as one of the best schools in the area. "And the winner is Alex from St. Mary's School." The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. The entire auditorium erupted in cheers. Alex's classmates rushed to congratulate him, patting him on the back and shouting words of praise. "You did it, Alex!" his best friend Tom exclaimed. "You were amazing up there." Alex's exceptional showing caught the attention of government officials present at the event. The governor, impressed by Alex's brilliance and bravery, made a decision on the spot. This young man represents the best of our state, the governor announced. I'm proud to award Alex a prize of $20,000 for his outstanding performance. The crowd gasped at the amount. Alex stood there stunned, unable to believe what he had just heard. Later that day, the school principal called Alex to his office. He handed Alex a letter, his face beaming with pride. Alex, make sure you give this to your parents, the principal said, his voice filled with excitement. You're such a brilliant kid. The governor of our state has confirmed a cash prize of $20,000 for you. Your parents will receive it next week. Alex took the letter with shaking hands. Thank you, sir, he managed to say, still in shock from the day's events. When Alex got home, he found Emily sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. He approached her, his heart pounding with excitement to share the news. Good afternoon, Mom, Alex greeted, trying to keep his voice steady. Emily looked up from her phone. Oh, my baby boy, how are you doing? How's school? I hope you didn't get into trouble with anyone, she asked, her tone more distracted than concerned. I heard your mother screaming, Alex. What's the good news? Amanda asked, her voice filled with concern and interest. Alex looked up at Amanda, feeling a sense of comfort in her presence. My teacher gave me a prize for my parents, he explained. He told me I won it for performing well at the school competition. Amanda's eyes lit up with pride. This is great. I trust you. Now tell me, what exactly is this prize, she urged, sitting down next to Alex on the bed. Alex took a deep breath before answering. My teacher told me I won a prize of $20,000, sponsored by the governor of our state, he revealed, still hardly believing it himself. Amanda's jaw dropped. She almost fainted upon hearing the amount. What a huge prize, she whispered, more to herself than to Alex. Unable to control her emotions, Amanda quickly stood up. That's wonderful, Alex. You deserve it, she said hastily before leaving the room and retreating to her own quarters. Sitting alone in her small room, Amanda's mind raced. Alex won a prize of $20,000. My son, she thought, her heart swelling with pride and pain. So this billionaire family is going to get all that money won by my son? That's impossible. This is the time to fight and get what is mine, she said quietly to herself. The idea of revealing her true identity as Alex's real mother consumed her thoughts. She paced back and forth in the small space, weighing the pros and cons. It's going to be hard, she muttered, but with that prize money, our lives could change forever. We could have a fresh start, just Alex and me. Amanda stopped pacing, her resolve hardening. Whatever happens, I shall get Alex back as my son. I'm his real mother. I carried him for 9 months, she declared to the empty room. Taking a deep breath, Amanda left her room and walked back to Alex's door. Her hands were shaking as she knocked softly. Come in, Alex's voice called out. Amanda entered the room, her heart pounding. Alex was sitting at his desk, working on some homework. Nanny, is something wrong? Why do you look so scared? Alex asked, noticing her distress. Amanda stood there frozen. The words she had rehearsed in her mind refused to come out. The more she tried to speak, the more frightened she became. Alex, she finally managed to say, her voice trembling. Please, there's something I want to tell you. Alex put down his pen and turned to face Amanda fully, concern etched on his young face. What is it, Nanny? You can tell me anything, he said, his voice full of trust and affection. Amanda took a deep breath, knowing that what she was about to say would change everything. The truth that she had kept hidden for so long was about to come out, and there was no going back. Alex, Amanda's voice trembled as she spoke. Her hands shook slightly as she approached the boy. There's something important I need to tell you. Please don't be angry with me. I've kept this secret for a long time, and I'm sorry. Alex looked up from his homework, confusion clear on his face. He stood up and walked toward Amanda, concern in his eyes. Nanny Amanda, what's wrong? What secret are you talking about? Amanda took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Alex, this isn't easy to say. I'm your real mother. You're my son. Tears began to roll down Amanda's cheeks as she watched Alex's face change from confusion to disbelief. The room fell silent, the only sound Amanda's quiet sobs. Alex stumbled backward, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. You can't be my mother. You're my nanny. I know it's hard to believe, Alex. Amanda said softly, reaching out toward him. But it's the truth. When you were born, I had no choice. I left you at the wealthy family's gate so you could have a better life. I couldn't provide for you then. Alex's mind was reeling. He couldn't process what he was hearing. If you're really my mother, why did you keep it a secret all this time? Why didn't you tell me? Amanda wiped her tears, trying to compose herself. I had to keep it a secret to protect you, to make sure you had a good life. But things are different now. We could leave together, start a new life. Alex stood there silent and stunned. His nanny, the woman who had cared for him for years, was claiming to be his mother. It seemed impossible. Alex, Amanda continued, her voice urgent, you won that prize money, $20,000. We could use that to build a new life together, just the two of us. But Alex wasn't ready to accept this revelation. No, I'm not going anywhere. How do I know you're telling the truth? How can I believe you're really my mother? Amanda pleaded with him, her voice filled with desperation. Alex, please. We don't have much time. We need to leave before it's too late. We can go to your school, claim the prize money, and start over. As Amanda continued to explain, sharing details from the past, Alex began to see the truth in her words. The love she had always shown him, the special bond they shared. It all started to make sense. But even as he began to accept that Amanda might truly be his mother, a new worry formed in his mind. But how can we leave? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. How can we escape from here? They both knew escaping wouldn't be easy. Alex, he whispered, how will we get past the gate? The guards are always there. Amanda sighed. I know, Alex. It's going to be tricky. We need to be patient and careful. They often found themselves staring at the high walls and watchful guards, feeling trapped. The gateman was particularly vigilant, never leaving his post unattended. Maybe we could sneak out at night, Alex suggested hopefully. It's too risky, Amanda replied. The security cameras are always on, and the night guards do regular patrols. Their desire for freedom grew, but so did their frustration at the seemingly impossible task ahead. The next day, Amanda sat alone in her small room, her mind racing with ideas. She tried to think of ways to escape with Alex, but each plan seemed more impossible than the last. We could sneak out at night, she muttered to herself. No, the guards would catch us. She paced back and forth, growing more frustrated. Maybe we could disguise ourselves, but how would we get past the gate? After hours of failed planning, Amanda slumped onto her bed, feeling defeated. Suddenly, a new thought struck her. What if I just told them the truth? She whispered. The idea both terrified and excited her. She imagined herself standing before the wealthy family, revealing her true identity as Alex's mother. It's risky, she said to herself, but it might be our only chance. Amanda took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. I have to do this, she decided, for Alex, for both of us. She knew this choice would change everything, but she was ready to fight for her son. By evening, the wealthy family had gathered for dinner. The dining room was filled with the clinking of expensive cutlery and quiet conversation. Amanda stood nervously by the door, her heart pounding. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. I'm sorry, sir, but I have something important to say. Amanda spoke, her voice trembling slightly. Mr. Miller looked up from his plate, confusion etched on his face. What is it, Amanda? Can't it wait until after dinner? Amanda shook her head. No, sir, it can't wait any longer. She paused, gathering her courage. The truth is, Alex is my son. I'm his real mother. The room fell silent. Mrs. Miller's fork clattered onto her plate. What? What nonsense are you talking about? Alex is our son, she screamed, her face turning red. Mr. Miller stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Amanda, what's wrong with you? We hired you as a nanny, not to claim our child as your own. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, sir, but it's true. I had to leave him at your gate years ago because I was too poor to raise him. When I saw you needed a nanny, I took the chance to be close to him. I never meant to deceive you. Mrs. Miller's voice was cold with fury. This is ridiculous. You're fired, Amanda. Pack your things and get out of our house immediately. Amanda stood her ground, her voice growing stronger. I can't leave without Alex. He's my biological son. I won't abandon him again. Mr. Miller's face contorted with anger. This is outrageous. You have no right to come into our home and make these claims. Leave now, or I'll call the police. Please, I want to go with her, Alex cried out, tears streaming down his face. He tried to run to Amanda, but Mrs. Miller grabbed his arm. You can't go with her, Alex, Mrs. Miller said firmly. We're your parents. We raised you. Now go to your room and don't say another word. Amanda's heart broke, seeing Alex's distress. I won't leave without my son, she repeated, her voice cracking with emotion. Mr. Miller had heard enough. He turned to the doorway and shouted, Security! Get in here now! The gateman rushed in, looking confused. Mr. Miller pointed at Amanda. Remove this woman from our property immediately. She is no longer welcome here. No, please, Amanda begged as the gateman grabbed her arm. Alex, I love you. Alex tried to break free from Mrs. Miller's grip. Nanny Amanda, don't take her away. But it was too late. The gateman dragged Amanda through the house and out the front door. With a final shove, she found herself outside the gate, alone on the dark street. As the gate clanged shut behind her, Amanda collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Inside, she could still hear Alex's muffled cries. The night air was cold and she had nowhere to go, but even in her despair, she made a silent promise to her son. I'll find a way back to you, Alex. I won't give up. Amanda wandered the dark streets for hours, her feet aching and her heart heavy. Finally, she stumbled upon an unfinished building and decided to take shelter there for the night. As she lay on the cold concrete floor, her mind raced with worry and regret. What have I done? She whispered to herself. How will I ever see Alex again? She tossed and turned, unable to find comfort. Maybe I should have waited longer, she muttered, but I couldn't keep lying to him. Meanwhile, back at the Miller mansion, Alex lay awake in his bed, tears silently rolling down his cheeks. Why did they send Nanny Amanda away? He wondered aloud. She's my real mom. Will I ever see her again? He clutched his pillow tightly, feeling more alone than ever. I wish I could have gone with her, he sniffled. What if she doesn't come back for me? As the night wore on, both Amanda and Alex remained awake, their thoughts filled with fear and longing for each other. The next morning, Mr. Miller and Mrs. Miller sat in their luxurious living room, their faces etched with worry. The events of the previous night weighed heavily on their minds. Mrs. Miller broke the tense silence. Honey, what if Amanda was telling the truth? What if Alex really is her son? Mr. Miller frowned, rubbing his temples. I've been thinking about that too. Remember how we found Alex at our gate all those years ago? Mrs. Miller nodded slowly. Yes, it was such a strange night. We just took him in. I've been suspecting something was off with that nanny, Mr. Miller admitted. She was always so close to Alex, more than a normal nanny would be. Mrs. Miller's voice rose with anger. I can't believe we hired her. Now she shows up claiming Alex as her own, a boy she abandoned. We're the ones who gave him a good life. Mr. Miller stood up, pacing the room. After all these years of raising Alex, how can she think she has any right to him now? Exactly, Mrs. Miller exclaimed. She's poor. She has no resources. We're the ones who've provided for Alex. She can't just waltz in and take him away. Unknown to them, Alex stood just outside the room, listening to every word, his small hands clenched into fists as he realized the truth of Amanda's words. Later that day, Mr. Miller noticed Alex's change in behavior. Alex, come here. Why aren't you eating your dinner? Alex glared at him, pushing his plate away. I'm not hungry. Mrs. Miller tried to intervene. Alex, honey, what's wrong? You love this food. Stop pretending you care, Alex shouted, surprising both adults. You're not my real parents. Mr. Miller's face hardened. Alex, that's no way to speak to us. Go to your room now. As Alex stormed off, Mrs. Miller turned to her husband, her voice trembling. What are we going to do? He's never acted like this before. Mr. Miller sighed heavily. We'll have to be patient. He's confused right now. But we're his parents, no matter what Amanda says. He'll come around. But as days passed, Alex's behavior only worsened. He refused to eat, barely spoke, and spent most of his time alone in his room. Mrs. Miller and Mr. Miller exchanged worried glances. They were losing the boy they had raised as their own, and they didn't know how to fix it. Amanda sat on the curb, her head in her hands. How can I fight against rich people like them? She muttered to herself. I'm just a poor woman, but I can't give up on my son. Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed openly on the street. A man walking by noticed her distress and approached cautiously. Excuse me, ma'am, he said gently. Is everything okay? Why are you crying out here in this heat? Amanda looked up, wiping her eyes. It's nothing you can help with. The problem is too big. The man sat down beside her. Sometimes talking about our problems can help. Why don't you tell me what's wrong? Maybe I can offer some advice or assistance. Amanda hesitated, then sighed. Well, it's a long story, but it's about my son. He's been taken from me by a wealthy family. The man listened intently as Amanda began to share her story, offering her a sympathetic ear. In her moment of despair, Amanda took a deep breath and began sharing her story with the stranger. It all started years ago when I was young and poor. I had a baby boy, but I couldn't take care of him, so I left him at a rich family's gate, hoping they'd give him a better life. The man nodded for her to continue. Recently, I got a job as a nanny for that same family. I didn't know it was my son at first, but when I realized, I couldn't keep it a secret anymore. I told them the truth, and they kicked me out. Now they're keeping my son from me, Amanda finished, her voice breaking. Please, she pleaded, I just want my son back. He's not happy with them. I know it.